All right, friends, let's see if we can't bang out Unit 4 real quick here. Unit 4 is imperfect competition. Unit 3, at the end, we were talking about perfect competition. Remember, perfect competition, we're price takers. So therefore, our marginal revenue equals our demand, equals our average revenue, which also equals our price. And so we've got that straight line there. That's our Mr. Darp line, right? And so then, if we come down here, what we're looking at is for every one that we sell, we're going to be making that same amount. And so we're going to have, if we sell 5 of them at this price, if we sell 10, then we're going to wind up with that total revenue is going to be that nice straight line. Okay, so that's perfect competition. Today we're talking about imperfect competition. And so what we want to look at now is what is our demand versus we're not going to have our nice Mr. Darp line anymore, okay? What we're going to have is over here, our marginal revenue is going to fall below our demand. And so what that means is when we are no longer price takers, we're price makers when we are in a perfectly competitive market, okay? And so because of that, because we're now price makers, we can charge whatever price we want to. Over here, we couldn't do that. Over here, we can now. And so here's the thing. If we are going to sell $10, if we're going to put our price at $10 and we can sell one, great. We're going to make $10 on that, right? But what if we want to sell 2? Well, there's only one person willing to buy it at 10, but there's 2 people who are willing to buy it at 9. The guy who is willing to buy it at 10 is willing to buy it for 9, and then a second person is willing to buy it at 9. So here, if I charge $10, I'm only going to sell 1. If I sell it for $9, I'm going to sell it for 2. But if we've noticed, what's going to happen at 1, when we sell 1, our total revenue is going to be 10. But if we sell 2, it's going to be 18. So we're actually, our marginal revenue is going to start shrinking. It's going to start falling under what that demand is. And that's because when we each time we go down, so if we go down to 8 now and we're able to sell 3, well, we're going to lose that dollar from that first guy. We're going to lose the dollar again from the first guy. And now we're going to lose the dollar on that number 9 guy. Okay, so we're going to be losing a little bit of what we could have made if we could have charged that $10, if we could have charged that $9. Okay, and so that's the reason why our marginal revenue curve is going to fall below that demand curve. Okay, so our total revenue then is going to look like this. And so instead of looking like this nice flat line or this nice steep increasing line, it's going to look like this. We're going to have kind of this mountaintop. Okay, and so what's going to happen is when our marginal revenue reaches 0, that's going to be where our total revenue is at its peak. Okay, total revenue is at its peak. After that, we're going back down the hill. When we're on this side, we're elastic because what's happening? We're lowering the price and we're making more total revenue. We go all the way back to I think that's unit 2 where we talk about that, right? And over here, what's happening is inelastic. We're lowering the price and our total revenue is going down. That means we're inelastic, right? And that's how we can tell which one is which. And so now what we want to look at is our total revenue is at its maximum, where marginal revenue is at 0. Now, that does not mean that we should be operating at that point, correct? Okay, we want to operate where our MR equals MC, just like we've been doing all along. But that's kind of the basics here of why our lines look the way they do and what's happening here. A monopoly is never going to operate when things are inelastic. They're only going to operate when it's elastic, okay? Because once it turns inelastic, they're going to be losing money, okay? And let's face it, nobody wants to lose money, right? So with that in mind, we want to look at a monopoly. And one of the things that is probably going to be on your FRQs, because it's on there very often, is going to be drawing a monopoly, okay? So I've got 2 monopoly curves here. I've got 2 of them here, okay? And so what we've got here is our MR. We've got our D, just like we saw over here, okay? And then all I did was superimpose on top of them my marginal cost and my average total cost. Okay, that's it. Everything's going to work the same now from here on out. Our MR equals MC is where we want to operate. That's going to be our profit maximizing point. So if we look here, our MR equals MC right here. So that's our quantity that we want to produce at. But we're a monopoly. We don't have to take this price. We can charge what people are willing and able to pay, which is way up here. Okay, and so now we come across to our price there. So we're going to charge a higher price and we're going to produce less. And that's going to leave us with this triangle right there, which is our dead weight loss, okay? Our dead weight loss. We could have produced that, but we're choosing not to in order to maximize our profit as a monopoly, okay? So that is what we're looking at here. Everybody with me? Awesome. This is a monopoly making a profit. So this total box here, the Q up to the P, that is our total revenue. Our Q up to our ATC, that box right there, that is our total cost. The difference here, that box, that's our total profit. So you might be asked on an FRQ to draw a monopoly making a profit. You draw that, and you're going to start picking up points real quick on your FRQ, okay? You may be asked to draw a monopoly that is making a loss. And so we jump over here instead, okay? And so what do we have? We've got our MR, we've got our D, we've got our marginal cost, we've got our average total cost. Remember, the average total cost is at its minimum where it crosses the marginal cost, so make sure you're taking care of those details, right? And so what are we going to do here? We're going to be where MR equals MC, boom, there's our quantity, and we're going to charge right here, okay? So this box, again, just like it was over here, is our total revenue. Now, here's the problem. Our total cost, because we're going up to the ATC, is up here, okay? So this is our total cost. This is our total revenue. That means this box up here is our loss, okay? And so if we have numbers here, we can multiply them out and we can find out what is the area of that, and that'll tell us what is our total profit, what is our total loss, what is our total, all of those different things. You guys can do all that kind of stuff on your own. And then the last thing that we want to look at then is we wind up with right here. We could have been producing that, right? And so that's going to be dead weight loss, okay? So that's just kind of quick, our monopolies and how they are a little bit different than perfect competition, okay? We have one more monopoly curve that we do care about here, okay? And that's this one right here. And so what we see here is we're price makers, remember. And so remember that we have somebody who is able to, willing and able to pay $10. We had somebody who's willing to pay $9. Somebody else is willing to pay $8. Somebody else, the guy who's willing to pay 10 is also willing to pay 9 and 8, and that's why we have that MR coming down, right? But if we can price discriminate, that means if we can find a way to get that guy to pay 10, get the other guy to pay 9, get the next guy to pay 8, get the next guy, we can eliminate that marginal revenue, that loss that we have, that inefficiency, and bring it all the way back up to the demand curve. And so now if we can price discriminate, so how do we price discriminate? Well, we need to figure out who has an elastic demand and charge them a different price than who has an inelastic demand. Now we see this all the time. Movie theaters are going to charge in the middle of the day very cheap because the people who are can go to a movie in the middle of the day have lots of options. They're free, they can do things. They charge you guys a whole lot on the weekends because they know that this is the only time that you can go if you want to see that movie, right? Okay, and so they're able to charge different prices different times. Airlines know if you want to buy a ticket tonight, we got you. You got to get there, and so this is the way it's going to be. If you're going to give 3 months, you could drive, you could do things, you could make substitutes, you could shop around a little bit easier, and so you're going to be able to get a better price. And so those are things that we're looking for. Who has the inelastic demand? Who has the elastic demand? If you are able to perfectly price discriminate, somebody was in the window, perfectly price discriminate, then what we're looking at is what we're going to have is we're going to get rid of that inefficiency, and so our demand is going to equal our marginal revenue. And so what we're going to get is this whole box there is going to become our consumer surplus. Producer surplus, okay? It is all going to be profit. And that's what we're looking for, okay? All of that is stuff that we wouldn't have had before because it would have been cut down, right? Where all of that is going to be part of our profit. Okay, so with that said, let's move on to monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition, remember, we're going to have some of the features of a monopoly, some of the features of perfect competition. So if a monopoly, we're going to be price makers, Okay, we're going to have differentiated goods. We're not going to have identical goods. So that's how it's going to be different than perfect competition. It's going to be like perfect competition, though, that there's lots of small businesses and it's easy to get in, easy to get out, easy entry, easy exit. Okay, and so with that in mind, this is what our curve is going to look like for monopolistic competition in the long run. In the short run, it looks like a monopoly making a profit. It looks like a monopoly making a loss. Okay, these are short run monopolistic competition curves. Long run is where it gets different. Okay, and here's why. If we pretend this is not a monopoly making a profit, that this is monopolistic competition instead, what's going to happen is people are going to see me making a profit. If it's a monopoly, there's a high barrier to entry. I can't get in, and so I can't get a share of that profit. But with monopolistic competition, there is no barrier for me to get in. I can get in and start taking some of that profit. And so what's going to happen? We've got more suppliers in the business, and so that's going to drive the price down, right? If the price goes down, the profits are going to go down, right? And eventually, we keep lowering that price, and all of a sudden, our ATC is above the price. Now we're making a loss, okay? Now we're making a loss. And so what's going to happen? People are going to get out of the business. And so we got less suppliers. And what's that going to be? We're going to have a more rare product that's going to start driving up. And so we're going to start doing this balancing act, right? And eventually, we're going to land right there where our ATC, our demand, our price, our ATC, and our demand all meet at the same spot, okay? So here's our quantity, because MR equals MC, always where we're gonna operate. We're gonna go up to our price, that's where our ATC is gonna be, that's where our demand is. Everything's meeting right there. That's the long run. At that point, we're making zero economic profit, a normal profit. And remember, a normal profit is a really good thing. That's what we want. That means we're making an accounting profit and all of our opportunity costs are covered. Okay, so that's what we're looking at for all of that. So let's go ahead and move over to our friend here. And this is the oligopolies, okay? And so remember our matrices. And so what we want to look at is we've got whether or not these two people, Joe and Amy, do they want to open their restaurant early or do they want to open late? And they're dependent, remember, oligopolies are dependent on their competition. What's going to happen to me is going to be dependent on what happens to you, okay? And so let's walk through a little bit of our chart here. Remember that Joe is going to be our first numbers. So Joe is 6,000 and 1,000. Joe is 3,000, 1,500, okay? Amy then is 4,000 and 1,500. Amy is 4,500 and 1,300. So those are the numbers that we're working with. We know who belongs to what, okay? So Joe's trying to decide, should he open early, should he open late? Well, he's going to look at what Amy does, okay? He can open early. If she opens early, he can open early and earn $6,000, or he can open late and earn $1,000. Which should he do? Well, he's going to open early, right, and earn $6,000. If she decides to open late, Joe can open early and earn $3,000, or Joe can open late and get $1,500. What's he going to do? He's going to opt for early again, right? That's where more money is. And so if we look at Joe, no matter what, he's better off opening early. And so he has what we call a dominant strategy. He's always going to open early. It doesn't matter what Amy does. He's always going to be better off, okay? Yeah, he would rather she opens early, right? But if she doesn't, he's still making more than if he opened late, okay? So that's what we're going to look at for Joe. Let's look at Amy now. For Amy, if Joe decides to open early, okay, she can make $4,000 by opening early, or $4,500 for opening late. So she's going to open late, right? That's going to be a little bit better for her. If Joe decides to open late, she can earn $1,500 if she opens early, but she can open $1,300 if she opens late. Well, she's going to open early here. And so now her strategy is dependent on Joe. She does not have a dominant strategy, right? And so where are they going to land here? Okay, so that's what we want to look at. We know Joe is going to opt for early. He's never going to go late, right? If he goes early, where's Amy going to land? Right here. And so right there at that spot, that is our Nash equilibrium, okay? Neither of them are better off. If they leave, they're going to be worse off. If we're here at late, right? If Joe leaves, he's going to go from 3,000 down to 1,500. That's no good for him. If she leaves, she's going to go from 4,500 to 4,000. That's no good for her. So at that point, they're both better off staying where they're at this point. That is our Nash equilibrium. Okay, friends, that's what we're going to look at for unit 4. Make sure you check out the vocab and stuff like that. But other than that, hey, this is unit 4. Pretty easy if you remember the stuff from unit 3. We're just adjusting some graphs a little bit, and so make sure that you know the qualities of a monopoly, the qualities of monopolistic competition, the qualities of oligopolies, and the qualities of a perfect competition. You remember those, and then remember how to do the graphs, and you got a lot of luck for the end of unit 3 into unit 4. We'll be back tomorrow with unit 5, but until then, do something for other people and have a great day. We'll see you then.